We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. We have a very special episode for you today. I'm super excited. All the Deal Junkie co-hosts are in the room, and we have a powerhouse real estate professional sitting with us, one of my heroes in real estate, AJ Nash. AJ, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
AJ is a brilliant real estate mind. He's an entrepreneur. He does a lot of stuff. I don't even know if I need to introduce you, but you're what can we talk about? You're one of the founders of Tradition Real Estate Partners. You're a power broker. You own a restaurant. You're involved in a lot of deals, development. What are you anyway?
I think it just all starts.
Are you confused?
Back when I was a title rep calling on this office at SMI, helping with this thing called Live Bar.
Okay, I got to tell.
Start.
I don't think.
Are you serious?
We go way back.
Oh wow!
I mean, I was part of the original marketing team, the unpaid ones that just
I'll say this. I think the two of you have the most, probably 80% market share of all the real estate signs in the city of Salem.
Oh, good.
Yeah. That's all you see, Tradition and SMI.
We're battling it out.
Yeah.
Well, red and black versus purple and green.
AJ does have a cooler logo and color.
He told me that. I tried to get him to come with me, and he said, no, purple and green doesn't work. He loved SMI, and he loved me, but he said purple and green won't work. I'm not going to do it.
His brand is brand, man.
And you're wearing a red shirt today, and it proves it.
You're now my favorite guest.
So, AJ,
it's actually magenta.
Not far from where we're sitting right now was my desk back in the day. This is like 13, 14 years ago. And AJ used to be the Fidelity rep. He was the business dev guy. So he would come in and, we'd bullshit and just talk about life and everything. And what's funny is most of the time we weren't talking about real estate at all. Back then, we were really into these food ideas, and I was doing the Live Bar stuff, and AJ had this dream, Incrediballs. Remember that?
Unbelievables.
Unbelievables. That's what it was.
It's still going to happen.
Meatballs out of a food cart.
Don't get me going. That's
we used to sit and talk for probably hours about nonsense of the ideas that we had. But there's just two entrepreneurial minds. We got together from the first time AJ and I met, we locked in, and it was so much fun. So since then, we've done a lot of deep business together. We've partnered on deals together. We've had a lot of success together. And AJ, I know you'll probably tell us all the cool things you do, but I just have to say that I really respect what you do. Like, AJ is one of the best real estate people I know, and just a brilliant mind. On the deal that we recently partnered on, you were one of the best partners I've ever had. So you're the man. I really, really look up to you. So not to make you nervous or anything.
Did you need that, AJ?
He doesn't need that.
For your confidence.
He doesn't need that.
I am very uncomfortable around praise, but it feels so good. It works on me. Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Can we go back in time? Like, I think a lot of people want to know, people see your signs around town. People know you're doing stuff. But, like, who is AJ? Like, where does this come from? Like, where's the fire come from? Were you raised this way? Like, what's in your DNA?
That's a good question. Yes, I was raised this way. I'll give you the succinct version. Only child, single mom, entrepreneurial. I was taught around entrepreneurial minds. So when she was 20, I was born. 26, 27, ran a balloonery, ran a, jazzercise. She was out there hustling. And I think, got me into hustling. My first business, I remember, was Sunshine Golf Balls. That was after I got in trouble for selling candy to the students in 3rd and 4th grade. I had my cases, right? And just always hustling, right?
So you're selling from 3rd grade.
Selling from third. That was my first 2 employees.
What makes a 9-year-old want to go out and make money? Did you feel like you needed to make your own way, or were you just, it was in your blood? Like, did you get
I think
the high from it?
My initial motivation was buying Dairy Queen for my friends every day.
Okay.
When I was 12 and probably 11, I had my first checkbook, got the shirts, got them all branded with the person up the street, I was paying 10 cents a golf ball for kids to go find them. I was selling them for 50, and I'd buy everyone company lunch. And we would go down, and I'd write a check for like $9. Dude.
To buy Dairy Queen?
To buy Dairy Queen.
You wanted to buy all your friends' food.
Yeah, it ended up being, it bought my first car at 15. But yeah, I think my sole goal was just have fun, and it was fun to control when I got ice cream. And it was fun to control my friends because they wanted ice cream so I could get them to do things for me. And I was like, all right, this is, like I started to learn the value of my time versus others' time and what people are willing to do and just finding a role.
So you're an entrepreneur from the very beginning.
That's so funny.
You'd pay kids to go out and find the golf balls. You'd give them 10 cents and you'd sell them for 50 to the golf course?
No, I would set up along the drive to get to the golf course with, I had a little trailer. I had 2 pop-up tables. And then when the guys would come, I'd say, what do you shoot? What ball? And they'd say, well, I only shoot Schlesinger. I was like, great, give me your name and number. When I get 12, you want me to call you? So I was pre-selling.
Wow.
So basically, I'd just find their balls when they'd hit it out. I'd pull it 12, and I'd sell it back to them.
How old were you during this time?
Yeah, I started that business, I think, at 11. And 12, I really made a go. And so 11 through about 14. It was the 4 years I ran it.
Okay. So walk us through. You went to school. You obviously went to college. That's how you ended up in Salem. You ended up going to Willamette, right? So were you always running businesses all the way through high school and into college?
Oh.
Or did you take a break and just focus on your studies?
Yeah, studies. That's funny. No, I made the team at Notre Dame. I was a soccer player. No scholarships. My mom walked me through an economic exercise that golf balls was not going to pay for Notre Dame. Not exactly how it went, but close. And they offered me a ton of money at Willamette. So Whitman and Willamette was my choice. Ended up at Willamette. When I was at Willamette, I did too much partying. I just was trying to get the B-, and I got it. That's what I had to do to keep my scholarships, right? So, yeah, entrepreneurial-wise, there's always been some business, but my passion is not money-motivated. So the goal has never been money. I just like people. I like finding value.
You've got to be a stud to get accepted. Is Notre Dame that's a high level soccer?
Athletics. I was accepted without the scholarship. So yes, you have to be a good enough player to get D1, but I'm no Nat Borchers. I mean, that was so. I started for 4 years at D3. I had a lot of fun, but I realized very quick I was not going to go into that world. And then, real estate's my 7th career. So when I got out of college, it took me a little bit of time to figure it out, and I think it was title where I walked around and I was like, wait a second, these guys are this bad at golf and they golf every day. They're not very good at math and they make how much money? So you're looking at me, you're going, Gabe is just not that bright, and he's making a lot more money than I am. You had some attributes that were positive. You had some skills. You could sell. Hold a conversation. Yeah, no, don't disparage yourself too much. But there's a lot of people in this business that I'm surprised
make it.
I'm just surprised that
pass the test.
That they convince someone that they're a good representation of value. And it's all right. I should.
Do you want to go down this road?
Yeah.
We will all agree, but have no comment.
That's a total bleep. We all just came up with the example in our head that we would all talk about if we weren't on air.
Wait, are we all thinking about the same person?
No, we all have 8 different people come to mind. It's a long conversation.
Yeah, it's not a short list.
So, why'd you go into title? What did you have were you thinking I'm going to work my way up in the corporate world, or did you use that as kind of a way into real estate?
I think I was always just hopping from rock to rock. So if I run through it, I went to go start a business in Montana straight out of college, met with 2 people separately because I was looking for about $1 million to build it and fund it, including the real estate. And I was told by both separately, spend 1 year in copy machine sales and you'll learn more than you did in 2 years of grad school. So I was like, yeah, screw it. 2 people told me there must be something in the universe telling me to go down this path. So I looked up Portland, Oregon, because there was nothing I was back in Kalispell, Montana at that time. And there was Xerox, There was a couple others, and I was like, check this ghetto place out. Copytronics, I'm in. So I just called, and I remember saying, like, there was like a job posting but I called and I interviewed them, and it was just for fun. I was just like, well, I'm going to come work for you. So the question is just, when do you want me to start, and what do I need to do to get there? And I've been overconfident my whole life. So copy machine sales, and then I made it 11 months. Still have great relationships there, but it was rough. That was pretty rough. Learned a lot.
You learned a lot.
And then I had the manager meetings at a copy machine sales company, probably not too different than a car sales company.
We used to talk about this. We go, you look at what we're doing now, a car salesman and a copy salesman, copier salesman.
They would ask me to go to, A-Crop up in Portland to the second floor to talk about my sales goals at 10 a.m. And I'm like, so my soul needed to be healed. So I went to...
The A-Crop's open at 10 a.m.?
Dude, for them it was... Montana boy was a little bit shell-shocked at that culture. So I went to United Way, the Mid-Valley. That's what brought me here. But they gave me the territory of Salem and copy machines. So I ended up going to United Way. I was recruited. And then just basically got plucked from there, from different... ended up going to a place called Integrity First Financial, where I learned tax strategy, tax planning, ran a radio show. Just had some fun, and they ended up through Measure 66 and 67. I don't know if you remember that back in 08, 09, needing to trim up. And so the marketing guy who ran the radio show was part of the trim package, but they did a pretty good job. They got me a soft landing at Willamette Valley Bank. Worked through some of those channels through marketing. I thought I wanted to do marketing. It was a ton of fun. And then about then, I was probably in my mid-20s, realizing banks, nonprofits, marketing, they weren't going to produce family wage income. And I was wanting to get married and have kids. So that's when I went at Willamette Valley Bank, I was trying to grow. I got offered a position from Ted Urton because I was just in those circles, and to grow the commercial and specifically the debt side. So I understood numbers. I could speak numbers. And then when I got into Fidelity National Title and started calling on all the commercial brokers and the debt side very quickly, I had conversations with multiple folks on, you should check out this as a path. So the toughest part's making that jump, because your first 3 years is ramen noodles, right? There's the pipelines for most commercial deals, at least in the worlds that I live in, are much longer. Everything takes 3 years is what I used to say. And then I laugh when I get to year 3.5, 4, 5. It's fun when that pipeline's there, though, and you can see it. So, yeah, real estate the last 12 years.
Yeah, it's so true when people talk about going even from residential to commercial. My mentor told me, like, you just got to plan on 3 years. Just block it out, because that's what it's going to take to get your business going. I think a lot of people, you get into residential, you might sell a house in your first couple of months, close it a month later, like you start getting paid. Like there's a much faster path into that than into commercial. So you had to have a lot of sacrifice, delay some gratification, really dig in. And was there ever a point in those 3 or 4 years where you were like, man, did I make the wrong move?
Oh, there's always points. But as soon as I landed here, I realized I could use my MBA and my economics degree more than I'd ever used it in my life. I think the toughest part is not being from here. So I was a true transplant, so opening doors was all cold. There was no warm opens. And, the leasing business, I realized there was no one really competent helping people. So there was no competition. So that was rewarding out of the gate. But when I saw the counsel that small business was getting in getting a lease space, often it was urgent. Often it was just, here's your option. They sign it. And that one decision tanks their whole business in this town. And when I saw that, I was like, I think that this role could actually really help transform Salem if there was better guidance for those people willing to take risks on the front end of these lease spaces. And the tough part is that an average, let's say, $3,000 a month for a 24-month lease. I mean, in your world, people always want month to month, especially in the startup. You do math on that, that's a $72,000 deal, which means $2,100 off the top. That's your broker commission, and then you get to take home, eat about $1,000 of that. It's like,
Now you know why you didn't have any competition.
Yeah, there's no competition, right?
Who wants to work that hard for $1,000?
Exactly. So that was the first 3 years, but I think that taught me, because I wasn't ever in it. I say this, of course, money is a big piece of the goal, but when you're trying to find a niche and find value, I saw so much room to add value. I kind of wanted to scale it. I'm realizing it's tough to scale.
Why?
Just hours.
Why do you think it is tough?
Well, I'll explain my training program. If you look at commercial real estate in general, you generally got verticals, or silos. I do multifamily under 12 unit. I do large multifamily. I do new construction multifamily, right? I do office. I do retail. And why do you segment? Because to be a master of it all, it takes hours in every one of those. And so I think when I got into that money-making desired part of my career, so after Willamette Valley Bank, starting at the title company, I started to realize 10,000 hours takes 5 years on 40 hours a week. But it only takes 2.5 years on 80 hours a week. And I could push myself prior to marriage, prior to kids, 90, 95 hours and then enjoy it. Like really enjoy what I do, who I talk to. And so hours is the problem. And getting people to stick it out to get, the quadrants of just unconscious incompetent. You don't even know what you don't know. That first 6 months is a honeymoon for everybody. I get them to do anything, take basic instruction. I repeat some things. And then you get to the conscious incompetent, right? And they start to like, oh, shoot, there's a lot I don't know here. It's like, yeah, there is. I've seen that from the beginning, right? And that insecurity steps in. So it takes about 20 deals to get there. So after the first 10 deals, insecurity steps in. So the problem is about deal 30 is when people are like, yeah, this isn't for me. So I try to walk people in my training to say, you got to get to 50 deals before you make your decision. Between deals 20 and 30, you're going to think it's not for you because you're going to realize how much you don't know. And just how you think that from A to B is it's, this or that as far as a decision. And from A to B to me is 13 levers and being able to advise people, even if they're a first timer, right? At $1,000 commission, you got to have a firm understanding of all those levers to help them achieve their preferred outcome. And what's interesting is that model over time has created what I call portfolio work. So my listing agreements right now are 1 page, no recourse. If you send me an email, no 180-day clawback. If you burn me, good luck with me. I want to work with you again in the future. But it's a handshake on paper. And what I've learned is that just, I say everything you own for your life, put me in your will. That's my listing agreement.
I love it. Repeat biz.
Sure, but it's also like if I'm going to give people guidance, it changes how I give them consult. So when I'm the person that's going to help your wife if you pass and your kids, and you have 3 of them that are going to go through decisions named in the will, we've got to start planning that now.
Mm-hmm. That's a really interesting concept. So when you say put me in the will, you're essentially saying name me as a consultant for your heirs? Is that what you're getting to?
Sure. Yes, but it's more the advisor.
Yeah, you're like figuratively speaking, right? But you're actually saying I will be here. That's what I'm hearing?
Well, that was one of my shticks too. Mm-hmm. So what you're hearing, correct. When I got into this, I said, well, a lot of the people I look up to are all between 60 and 70 in this business. There's not many people 45. I'm going to be here for at least the next 25 to 30 years. So I'll let you know if I adjust, but talk to your estate planning attorney. Mm-hmm. And when people start to get assets of a certain level, those decisions should be planned with someone that's known prior to the incident happening. So Pioneer Trust does this, right? Pioneer Trust has a department. Everyone in that department we work well with, and they sometimes consult many brokers, but of course our team to walk through certain items in a trust, right? And I think I'm just trying to wedge in there and just say, sure, you can do the general everything to have someone help you with your trust, and that's what a Pioneer Trust Bank does. But if you have a very real estate heavy portfolio, and those decisions are going to need to be made by someone in an interim, and then by someone, I mean, you're going through this right now with your good friend, passing, right? And who is going to be that named trustee that you trust to go in and make those decisions in the moment? And then how do you make sure it's not a cold handoff at the time that there is an event?
Yeah.
Right. And people don't like to talk about their own death.
No, it's uncomfortable. It's like selling life insurance.
Yeah.
It's a conversation no one wants to have.
And you always have to have it when you don't think you need to have it. That's when you have to have the conversation, is way before you actually have to have the conversation.
Yeah. Well, the first time I almost died, I realized how little I did that to myself and how much that's needed and to be forced, right? I think that's probably transformed how I deliver this message over the last 5 years is my own personal experience. But
Can we talk about that a little?
Sure.
So AJ works more than just about anybody I've ever met in my life. We've sat down before and talked about how you enjoy doing the 90-hour week, but at some point in your life, you're not going to want to do that. And so you've tried to, diversify a little bit, do some other things, get into investing in real estate and stuff. But talk a little bit about your experience. Like, you had a major health scare, like near death experience. Can you talk a little bit about what led you there and what happened and how you are today? I mean, you're a different guy today than you were before that.
fair.
Are you a better guy?
A little less Tigger. A little less energy.
You still have more energy than anybody else I know, but you're a little more grounded than you were before.
And so in 22, there's a lot of things and stressors that we all have in life, right? But in 22, there was a surprise incident, and literally I was on a party bus with my team, taking them out because we had a good year, celebrating a late Christmas, right, in first week of February, last week in January. And 3 or 4 weeks later, something just started getting me, and I started going down this path of feeling like I was losing strength, energy, and effectively dying. About 2 weeks in, I knew I was dying, and don't know where it came from. Don't know what happened. Went to Santiam. I had lots of different experiences on the front end of hospitals, then the back end. Went to Salem Hospital. They were trying to diagnose me with Guillain-Barré syndrome. And then I had a couple good buddies. One was an ER doc himself, and another one, so Michael Hill, Michael Barr, that were like integral in being a bounce for me as I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I started losing the ability to walk, started losing the ability to see. I was wheelchaired out and just went up to OHSU to just sit in the ER department to get checked in. And I remember when I got there, my mobility, I had a little bit of hand movement, couldn't move my legs anymore, was having a hard time. My vision was starting to blur and go double, and then my speech was starting to get impacted. So I was like, what's going on, right?
Were you scared?
Of course, but I don't think that fear was consuming me. I was more worried about planning. So I'm just business forward and humor forward. So when I'm in fear, I just tell jokes. When Michael Hill was trying to take me out, he ran into the front door and just threw me right on the ground, and I was laughing. And I just, there's no stress here. And he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "I can't feel anything anyway. Like, it doesn't matter, dude." So, and my wife would not like my off-color jokes at the ER and then with the staff, but they would enjoy it, right?
She was scared, obviously.
She was scared. And
you have a couple little kids.
In that moment, I remember my third spinal tap, right? What's going on? The doctors come up and say, well, this is before then. So I later found out I would have been diagnosed with fast onset MS. So what I had was just an extremely aggressive viral infection acting just like MS. So it was eating away the myelin layer.
In your brain.
In my brain stem and my upper right spinal cord. And they ended up, the equipment at Santiam and Salem wasn't as good, but up there they were able to see it. And then they found out that my GA65 B cell was going off the chain. So I remember I was trying to communicate, and my words were not, like, there was more going on up here than coming out my lips to my wife, our life, because she was not really aware of all the side real estate deals, the side relationship. Some of the stuff wasn't in writing properly, of course, right, when you're scrapping. And then I finally brought in Troy Willis, and I was like, I need you to document this. And then I brought in Rich Carlson, too. And I was like, just like, when I'm gone, please walk me through this, right? Or walk my wife through this and make sure she's taken care
I remember having a call with you while you were in the hospital, and Troy's sitting next to you. He's like, I'm sitting on his bed right now. So you had Troy sitting there taking notes.
Yeah.
And what is Troy's role? Is he an attorney, or what was?
He's a debt broker, but
Okay.
He's a debt broker that puts together, he brokers commercial loans.
So you're kind of going over your portfolio and your assets, and how are these mortgages getting paid? What are the systems behind it? The state of the project?
And then I'm catching my partner, Rich Carlson, on some of these projects up to what the project is, because God bless him, he's working hard on a different side of the business, right? So I'm the one running that project. And at that moment, I realized I had 17 active projects, no good estate plan, and I was leaving my wife, although she'd be fine, and my friends, with a mess that was going to lose a lot of value because I didn't plan appropriately. And so docs came in and they said, hey, good news, we think we know, or bad news, we don't know what you have, and we may never know. Good news, we think we know how to treat it. And they said, we're going to put 1,000 milligrams of steroids IV. You do not want to be on this more than 3 days. It will impact your life long term, but it should attack the issue. And so at that point, vision was gone. My speech was losing, but I was like, well, let's go. Let's try something out, right? And at day 3, 1,000 milligrams of intravenous steroids. I was
Jacked.
Oh, that was back to 18-year-old AJ. Wear my wife out. Yeah.
How fast for the jokes?
I remember when I got to day 4, because they ended up saying, you're not far enough along. It's going, we're going to have to go a couple more days. We don't want to do it, but you're not there yet. And so I went 5 days on that. And I remember day 4, I was asking the staff, I said, there's a pretty big Timbers game. I can watch it on my phone, but can you mix cranberry juice and Sprite and then bring it in and just tell me it's a cocktail? You just asked me if I'd like another cocktail just during this game, and the ladies were great. They were, yeah. So, but no, at that point in time, I said my goodbyes. I was within the final 24 hours. I got to relearn how to walk again for 3 to 4 months. I got to relearn I couldn't drive for 3 months because my vision was impaired. But the myelin layer grew back, and I'm still on MS medication, which is crazy. The MS medication, intravenous once every 6 months, takes out the GA65 cell. So if it did go haywire, it wouldn't, right? But there's no sign of it being like it's gone. It hasn't had any
That's crazy.
since. So
I was praying for you, man. I was like, AJ can't go. AJ can't go.
Somebody
You're
told
too
me you had
important.
COVID.
No.
I thought that until just now. No, I'm dead serious.
So
no,
what-
I obviously know now. I believe you.
So
but-
how does that change your outlook on life going through that? Does it change all your habits of what you were going through beforehand and wishing you had spent time differently? Or like, how do you change after that?
that's a fair question. In the moment, all I was thinking about was spending more time with a cup of coffee in my wife's garden with her in the morning. So that's probably an outcome where you're like reflective on intentional time with family and with loved ones. Mm-hmm. So there is more intentional time that is in my life. My friends wanted me to slow down. And even Michael Hill will tell you today that I agreed to slow down, but I never did. And, I just, like, to me, I'm not going fast to go fast. To me, it's not revving my RPMs to, a point where that's going to rattle off. It's more about just controlled stress, right? And so I'm doing better at managing stress. I'm trying to go into these things with a different mindset and expectation internally to manage stress, and that's been a huge uplift in my life. And then, I would say when you go through that with with a family, it changes not just you, but your interactions with everyone that you care about. Mm-hmm. And it's been, I'd say, of course I wouldn't want to do it again, but it probably saved me 10 years to get to the point where I'm at, right? So I think these next 10 years are going to be far better than they would have been before, just because of the focus.
Yeah.
How do you manage that stress? What is different that you do today? Is it just mindset or?
Yeah, part of it's mindset. Part of it is I'm a lot more direct. I used to have more Nissan customer service in my delivery, which takes energy.
You took the kid gloves off?
Yeah, and I just get right in there real quick. And when you pierce that veil fast, I've learned, and it's just everything, right? Just like you're doing now. But I mean, just, they want to talk about a property, and I go right to, who's your estate planner, right? What is your goals? Yeah, I know you came here with a need, and I refuse to help you until I understand like, what do you think your target is? And I think the hardest thing for me to represent at this stage, which was what I was attracted to back in the day, is a moving target, right? And of course, we are all on moving targets at some level, but I served a lot of people, still do, whose business plan is more. Who, when you say, what do you want to achieve? They say, give me the 3 plans. Let's achieve the best, right? And there's different variations of that, but I force people to help understand what a reasonable target is fast, and that keeps the separation that creates stress, angst, tough conversations from happening.
You're managing expectations with the way you communicate.
Yep. Yeah, with myself and with them.
Yeah.
Right? In
counseling others, how has that helped you be a better investor? I mean, now you've stepped into development. You're doing syndication. You're doing a ton of stuff. Tell me a little bit about how that has translated over into you actually owning buildings. Are you able to counsel yourself, or do you have to go to a different AJ to help you figure out what the plan is?
So before I answer this question, I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
What does better investor mean to you?
A better investor?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like what you were just talking about, having a long-term vision, knowing what your target is, knowing what a plan is. I think that, I just met with somebody yesterday, and they're a very successful business operator, but they started talking about like, well, what happens if this happens in my business and it all goes down? I lose everything. So I need to start getting into real estate. So I've been out looking at LoopNet, and I'm looking at deals, and I can't find a deal that works. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of not the way this goes. Like, you have to first ask yourself, what is it I want out of the real estate? Do I want another job, or do I just want to park my money somewhere to where I can make a return? Like, what? And then what are the reasons why you're thinking about diversification? And then just kind of spelling out, because people say getting into real estate, and that can mean a million different things. So it's like, some people are really into, I want to be in the middle of deals. I want to run deals. I want to manage deals. I want to do all this stuff. But usually there's parts of it you like, and there are parts of it you don't like, or things that you don't want to do long term. If it's just purely I want to park my money somewhere, like I don't want to go into stocks, I want to go into real estate, that's a different decision than I want to actually jump in as a day-to-day operator. So I think I've always said people are unique. Real estate's unique. Everybody wants something different out of it. And so kind of like you, when somebody goes, I want to buy something or I want to sell something, I'm like, let's go a layer deeper. I really want to know who you are. What is the whole situation around you, and what are we trying to accomplish so that I can help you? I don't think you can really advise somebody without asking some of those hard questions that they may not want to talk about. So a better investor to me is just somebody who, I don't know. I mean, maybe understands where to find deals, what a good deal is, how to underwrite a deal, how to operate a deal, having a good team, knowing if you're going to be a good partner, if you're going to be a lone wolf. I mean, there's just so many different check boxes you could go down to decide. I don't know what's better than something else, but I guess I just feel like for me, when I got into real estate, the whole goal was to be an investor. And so every conversation I had with a client, I wasn't, can I list your property? Can I get a fee? I wanted to make the fees. I needed to make money. But at the end of the day, what I was really doing was trying to get an education for myself to try to figure out what these people are actually doing. And what I found was, much like you just said, most people don't really know. they're not really sure what it is they want. They just know that somewhere along the way it was a good idea to buy real estate. It worked out and they kept doing it, and they build this big thing, and then they're like, well, now what? They don't understand the exit strategy, or they don't understand, estate planning, what a succession plan is, and what's going to happen after they're gone. So
No, I mean, it was all that. You wrapped it up well, but I was just going to say, like, a better investor is what you were talking about earlier. It's like, how do I spend 10,000 hours thinking about investing intentionally, and like not just investing, but the perfect practice that leads to being the best that you can be. And it's in a silo. Like, I think that's a thing where people, when they decide that they want to invest, you see all of the different ways that you can invest. And in all of the ways that you can invest, somebody that you can look at has made so much money doing it. And so being a better investor in my mind is like, okay, I'm just going to learn as much as I possibly can about one silo of investing. And I don't know if that's what you ended up doing, but like, that's what the guys that I see that are the best, or the guys that we talk to who are now 65, 70 and doing extremely well. It's like, yeah, I've done one thing for the last 35 years and I know it better than everybody else. It's like you can think of the list of guys who own, or gals who own, a specific property type that they have just maximized. I mean, there's investors in Salem, there's investors that own stuff across Oregon, where it's like, all I've done is build the same unit type in, tertiary markets for the last 30 years. And I didn't really do it that fast, but I know it better than everybody else. And so the moment they see a piece of land, they know what they need, they know what they need to be at in order to buy it. And I think that you have that skill now. And I've learned a ton about development just from the few conversations that we've had of how you think about, like, when you're piecing together a deal. It's like, it doesn't even matter what, the price is on this piece. I would never do it. And here's why. So anyways, long-winded, but.
Yeah, the first, let's call it 20,000 hours, I would say that a better real estate advisor, or a better guidance, right, broker, was heavily predicated upon return, right? If we make more money, right? And, coming up on deal 1,300, 1,400, as I've gone through so many of these, you start to learn the kind of process of investment. And I'm a lot better at helping qualify. Are you looking for extreme growth, high risk? Or are you, go through your normal investment plan? And that's what this is, right? Or are you looking, the pinnacle, the people I love serving right now buy land leases, 20-year land leases. The return's terrible. They buy it with cash. They have no headaches, and they want mailbox money. And so what I've started to learn, let's call it the last 5 years and since incident, but really after I had my own properties, is the value of Advil, or the lack thereof, and goodwill are two things that are missed in a lot of plans. They're so focused on X's and O's and the long-term, not just sustainability, but enjoyment. And I'm looking at, yeah, sure, how does it make money when you're asleep? But of the problems you get drug into, does it give you joy? And
headaches versus money.
And part of this is like, I look at this as purpose. I feel like I'm on the world to make a change and have a purpose. And I feel like I've found a niche where I can have great purpose to influence positively other people's lives. And a lot of people say, yeah, make them a bunch of money. Yeah, make them and I don't feel any calling to make people real estate investors. I don't feel any calling to make people a bunch of money, but I do feel the calling to help educate people on optionality in their life. Succession planning and tax planning has become an area that I see that I give great value, just because most people don't have that skill set. And like you said, the silo where you can become an expert faster, doing the same thing for 30 years, there's a lot of people that are at the top that is how they got there. And I think the unique thing I bring, it's funny, when I got into this, the first 3 years I spent in real estate, I was told, you will never own real estate. You should not do that. You'll be competing with your clients. And when I left that and I got this, I realized how much more valuable I was to the clients when I am going through the same headaches, when I've solved that problem before.
You can act like a partner instead of a broker.
And I would say that the Forge, specifically downtown, is a project that I'm understanding the value of goodwill. And for me, my wife didn't want to get into restaurants. I did. We started a restaurant to solve a real estate problem. And I couldn't find someone that would bring the flair and the culture to fill that floor. I've been trying for 18 months. And if you were trying to do leases in downtown Salem, they weren't getting done. I'm pretty sure in the last 24 months, I'm 75 to 80, maybe 85% of all downtown leases. And that's not even I just had a building there. That's not my goal. It's not I'm not the expert of downtown, right?
You are now.
Maybe, but in the end, the way we solved that project was we bought the tenants, is what I like to say. We created the TIs that other people weren't willing to create. We overspent by $2 million on the project, but we're full.
That's not bad.
We're full.
Only $2 million more?
You were just over 75% of the leases.
Yeah.
In downtown Salem.
Oh, got it. Well, thanks.
Yeah. Read an article about it last week. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think what you're having is a detailed conversation about maximally productive that very few people are competent to have. So the highest and best use process, what's legally permissible, physically possible, financially feasible, everyone stops there. And when you move on to maximally productive, yes, you have to be feasible. Yes, you have to have a return. But there's so much more to just a return in real estate. That is the most basic way and lens to evaluate what it is that you're doing, why you're investing. So you can't define what an investor is. You can't define what better is, and you can't define what your purpose is until you get into what maximally productive is. And everyone has a different definition of how they can be maximally productive, both from their labor, from their mindset, from the way they invest in people, from the way they invest in real estate, from the type of real estate they invest in. And so one of the conversations I love in life is when people dig into what is maximally productive for them. And then how does that relate in a butterfly effect to the community around them? I just love how you dug into that because it was a deep dive into it.
Yeah. Part of this too, I see where you're headed with that. It's very, let's call it return forward, that thinking, which is important to be a part of the conversation. The part that's not necessarily return forward, which is the goodwill plus the Advil, is I look at, especially commercial, it all comes down to your operator. The place I want to be is next to a good operator who operates, so I can operate the real estate side. And the tough part about projects like The Forge is you're investing in startups. You're investing in humans that may not own their home, that may have 2 months of rent payments in their bank account. And you're having to make a crystal ball gut impulse on, are they going to stay? Are they going to leave? Are they going to be good for culture? Are they not? And I think where I first learned this is some jokes around when I would walk into the DMV and look at the people that work there. They all hated their job. If you work at the DMV and you love your job, I'm sorry. But, and you just go into different places and they love their job, right? And so I'm like, all right, who you work with is a choice. So why I did not step into multifamily is I could not handle the conversations around the real life circumstances where I'm having to put someone out of a place of living, right? Especially class C and D. I could never do it. I don't have the stomach for it. And I was like, man, if I could choose to work alongside of anyone, I don't think it's the Starbucks of the world. I'm not there, but that dreamer, that entrepreneur, right? That small restaurateur. And so that's what's been so fun with The Forge is I've gotten to work just squarely in that realm and help encourage. And I'll give it to Chris Blackburn. He takes risks that other people don't. And there's Advil factor that comes with that, right? But it takes someone that's willing to be bold, that lives here locally and take chances. But like Bonsai, that's opening in 2 weeks, right? The boys had proven operational skills, but from a financial standpoint, we couldn't underwrite them for a deal like that. So how do you do it? You partner with them and you underwrite them, right? And I think that's where I'm headed on the advisor path is I think one of the best ways to change Salem and downtown is to create that space that takes a chance on these entrepreneurs, that uncovers the operator, that finds those people that has the skills, the unbelievables, right? The live bar back in the day, and that invests alongside of them because I'm going to be very direct, this like trust, like Pioneer Trust Bank, but that trust, keep it full, divide it between 6 people, 7 people, the land leases that have been sitting in Salem for years. That delivery of trust to the second and third generations and detachment from community in these it is tearing Salem down. right? So I was so excited to see so many of these older trusts start to sell that property, and it had to get tough enough and rough enough for that to happen, right? But then the next step is so many of these landlords out there, you'll see their stuff sits, but they don't want to invest further. And you know that when you take and you flip a multifamily and you put a hard surface floor down, you rip up the old carpet, and you put a stainless steel appliance and a hard surface countertop, right? That just a few adjustments change your demographic of who's renting, change the vacancy ratio, change the turn costs on that. And so I think I'm doing a better job of helping people understand that if they're in a growth phase, take the seedier tenants, just like take the smaller leases. If you're in a growth phase, take the stuff where there's more Advil, because there's more return if you do it right, and there's not always more risk. But I'm getting down a path where I'm trying to walk alongside of those that are, how do we transform a city and make money doing it? How do we create a little bourbon and wine lounge in the basement with 50 players that can take a small chip each in this poker match we call Salem and invest it alongside of some operators? And then what's interesting is if you can control the operator channel, well, then you can just look at every vacant space in town, go do your purchase, buy it right, and then put the operator in, because the operator wouldn't land without your investment. So you're their partner, and then we could just building by building, space by space, go through downtown. But it's a lot more expensive than people think to put something in, right? Every kitchen's $300,000 in a year in it. So here's one for you. I'll take a guess around the room. We took the Forge. It was a former Liberty Plaza part of the mall. And we churned it into a multi-tenant professional service, retail, and restaurant mall. How many permits do you think we've had to pull to date?
I know that answer.
Oh, I would guess like 50% of the TIs you're doing in there, you're pulling permits on. You probably have, 40 tenants or something like that? Mm-hmm. So you're pulling 20, 30 permits?
More than that, for sure.
What do you think?
My guess would be closer to 60.
Yeah, land use, building permit. You got all your trade permits, all your TI permits that have trade permits and building permits. You're well over 200.
What do you think?
That would be my guess, 200.
I think we're at 390.
Oh, I was close.
And when you look at the cost of each permit, and the cost is not just financial, the cost is time.
Time, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I will say our team, I don't believe the city is an adversary. I really don't. I think it's just communication breakdowns. Mm-hmm. And when the teapot went off and we forced the issue, the city was willing to meet relatively swiftly. They really were. And what we learned in that process is there was just a couple departments that were making judgment calls because they believed that's what they were told and instructed to do, that were becoming roadblocks. And there was just no jurisdictional ninja is what I think should be a position within the city of Salem. Yeah. That's job is just there to find paths forward.
A permit runner. The city needs to have a permit runner that then takes the left-hand, right-hand communication BS out of it.
And the crazy part is you just went through, you've got the construction side, the land use side, the occupancy side, which is fire, life, safety, mm-hmm. right? Those are the big three sides. You would think that they could utilize a master set and maybe a master human, but we were working with 2, 3, 4 different humans, re-explaining everything from the ground up. And their comment is they don't have enough staff, but my thought is that the inefficiencies were so obvious that it's.
I just was talking to a developer who's doing a really complicated cottage cluster project in Portland, and we were early adopters, so we know what to avoid, and he unfortunately did not avoid this type of property. But it was just the left-hand, right-hand, which is you go into one department, they say, oh, well, because of this, we need you to do this. So then they redesign everything and they submit it with this. But then the other department looks at it and says, oh, well, you change this, which means now we have a problem with this and we need you to do this. So they spend another 3 to 4 months to redesign, submit, get reviews, and they check off those reviews. And that's the third department that says, oh, well, now we need you to do this because you did that and that. And all you need is one person to sit down with all of the reviewers and say, okay, if we do this, how does that affect you? And then within a 15 to 30 minute meeting, everyone can be aligned, and now you have departments reviewing in a non-compartmentalized manner. It isn't really that hard to fix, but when you're government with inefficiencies and significant turnover and a different leadership from left to right, from 2 years to 4 years, you will always be compartmentalized. And you need that one role, exactly what you said, that is a 10, 20, 30-year person in development that understands where the left hand conflicts with the right hand and how you cure that problem. And it's literally just a few rules, and it can be solved.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to how you met Chris and got into the position you did today? Because I don't think people truly understand the scale you guys are doing. Because I think the first time I met you, Dane brought me to your office like 4 years ago, which you probably don't remember, but you sat down and you broke down all the projects you were doing, your role within them, and how you run it all. And I was just like, holy shit, I've never seen anything like this. Like the scale you guys are doing and how many projects you're doing and the size of the projects is just insane. Like, you're the biggest players in this market.
It was a big question.
Yeah. So how'd you meet Chris and get into that role, and what does that look like?
I met Chris because he called on a piece of property back when I was with Hancock Real Estate, and he let's call it, had some Mike Nuss energy over there. He was willing to preach to the world, and I was a young buck that was willing to listen. So he was probably one of the first cash buyers, right, calling me in the commercial world that was trying to chase down some properties. And we also had a common connection through our CPA. So we had some reference check, right, that we trusted, who said that we both could be trusted. But it started with just helping him with gritty Class D, F warehouses and tenants. And I'm grateful because I was also learning. And so I understand he was a perfect person to just jump right into things that would then create a problem, but then we'd solve it right away. And so that kind of, I would argue, we've been there from the beginning, and we've both kind of grown into this. Him as the investor, me as the broker, together. 12 years now, 11 years. But Chris really amplified his team when he brought on Chris Anderson. So we got the Chris and Chris show. And Chris Anderson, head of development, significant construction knowledge, very good with systems and putting together. He does the pro forma analysis. He also does the Gantt chart analysis. In his brain, it moves faster than most humans and is very good with the crystal ball on those fronts. So he's been the probably the most important part of that clutch puzzle in making this thing happen the way it is. And then, to the credit, Chris Anderson and Chris Blackburn just started saying, hey, key people, hey, AJ, hey, excavator, hey, surveyor, would you dedicate 45 minutes a week, once a week, to just walk through our projects with us if we give you the work? And novel, right? Just let's set the room, let's invite people to the room, and let's make sure that there's an incentive, right? And there may be a person or two that's paid to be on that call, but for the most part, we're just part of the team. And that call is meant to make our life more efficient. And that's where we started learning the scale of development. Mm-hmm. And when you're in pre-apps in Albany and in Staten and Dallas and Salem and Kaiser, all in the same month, you now realize you just to see more of it, right? And so just like the 20 and 30 deals, after my 30th pre-app, I realized, this planning department official's full of it, doesn't even know it, and he's just professing something. And this person's creative, and you start to learn the roles that are sometimes in different areas, and you learn how decisions are made. And so that, I think that allowed us to get overconfident in our ability to get through that process efficiently. We do it faster than anyone. We can underwrite a property in a Thursday call, right? Top to bottom. Dirt work, right? How to deal with flood, how to get things in and out, how to, the price per square foot. We can get that down to a pretty tight pro forma in 24 to 48 hours. And then we can get through the city faster than anyone else. We got some secrets there. But it's still painstakingly longer than it would be in Arizona. It's still painstakingly more expensive because each step of the way. It's not just the fee, right? You take 389 permits and you take your average fee per permit. You just start throwing $1,500 per occupancy permit. Couldn't do a building occupancy. Had to do it per, right? You start adding those up. We're at $2 million. I bet you $450,000 is our overage in fees. Mm-hmm. Could be wrong. Could be making that up.
That sounds probably light.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we had a budget to begin with. That's not total.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's the
overage.
Overage.
Yeah.
We thought we were going to be dealing with 125 permits total, right? Probably in this project. So we budgeted for that. We didn't think 390.
So what are you doing from a leadership standpoint, you and Chris, to make an impact in that one specific thing? I know Chris is asking this questions quite a bit, and he's traveling around the nation trying to get some answers.
Yeah, I admire his approach and mine are very different. Mm-hmm. So I think Chris literally is trying to save the world. I don't think I'm trying to do that. I think I'm just trying to save Salem, which are two different scopes. And I think we work well together because of that dynamic. Mm-hmm. But the local goodwill, so the time I'm putting in now is the ground game with the city officials. And I think the biggest step forward I'm doing is trying to be a leader in customer service. There's only a couple people that are still nose in the air, upset before they even pick up your document. And I think that's, there's no room for that in a growth mindset. There's no room for that in leadership. And if you're at the front door of trying to bring business to community, I think those humans need to be removed. Mm-hmm. But culture's tough within cities. And so what we're doing is twofold, threefold maybe. A, ground game on just teaching customer service and not being upset, but trying to go in with a positive outlook, a positive spin, while still trying to get what we need done, whether it's at the city council meetings, it's in the individual pre-app or other department meetings. The second piece is trying to come up with structures to set the table. Sometimes it's as simple as setting the table. So what we've done is I've said, give us a different price. Maybe not $750, maybe it's $3,500, where I can pay for the pre-app plus. And the pre-app plus is on my site with the heads of each department, and it helps speed up that process.
Like a physical walkthrough while you're doing the meeting?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because this change in leadership is created a lack of, and that's nationally, statewide, locally. When you're changing your leadership every 3 to 4 years, it's hard to have a consistent plan, right? And I think what we really need is a position that's hired that's consistent in more long-term thinking, not short-term thinking. And I brought up in one of these meetings where it was kind of like rattling heads, like this cannot happen. And it's when we were losing JCPenney's. I mean, really this delay that caused the Forge to not open we were supposed to open in September, no later than October. Our grand opening's in May. And so JCPenney's was meant to be purchased around October, November on the heels of that. And when it deflated, that really did lose it. But we brought up the extreme home makeover experience. And that was my first experience. I was still at the title company, I think, or Willamette Valley Bank. I just jumped in there as an eager young buck. And I saw that with the mayor's leadership, right, and city council on board, because TV was coming to town, that they got 22 people around a room, the head of fire, the head of planning, right, and they talked through this plan for 2 hours, and they got a type 1 site plan, which is a 180-day process, through in a week, 7 to 10 days, right, 2 weeks, and they said it was impossible, but clearly it's not. Like, right. This is, if you're on the for-profit side or you run systems, you're like, it's very possible. It's just giving authority and making sure that authority is appropriately reviewing controls, right? That's it. And I understand the public body process is what it is, but we can give authority for things. Let's just take homelessness. Like you and I both know this. You could take the extreme home makeover plan, and we could literally have restroom infrastructure, garbage infrastructure, shower infrastructure, and hell, you could start with tents. Just don't put it in a park that kids and families are going to. Like, pick a place, create a safety mechanism immediately, and
have the balls to say this is where we're going to put it, whether you guys want it here or not. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, there's the NIMBY piece, right? I hope he listens to this. He won't. But, Ian Levin's all NIMBYing right now on Chris Blackburn because he thought it was going to be 6 units and it's 12 units. And he's not against middle housing, just not in his backyard. Mm-hmm. And I get it. I mean, the people that bought those homes on that hill in South Salem, right?
It's such a good
they
project.
bought it at a different price point. But also, if you're going to solve housing, you're not going to be able to make everyone happy. So that's what I'm learning going through the Kaiser process on Isla Bay is just everyone wants it to be a green space in a park. No question. Everyone wants it, just not in their backyard. And everyone has their own ideas. And the city is the one that's going to say, what do we want? And they can do that. And they've done that. I mean, that's their code. And they can just authorize people within their code. There's reasons why certain jurisdictions, Albany is a dream. It's because their mayor steps in and their department comes together and you can get an answer instead of in 180 days. And you can really underwrite a project in 30 days there. So I don't know. I don't know how we got here, but
well, you touched on a really big conversation I've been having with people in Portland, where you start with the trust conversation and the old adage: first generation makes the money, second generation keeps the money, third generation loses the money. And you use the word detachment specifically. And first generation has no detachment from the process, the understanding of what it was. By the time you get to the third generation, there is a level of detachment from what this wealth actually is, what it actually means, how we actually influence the city that we're part of. And what we're seeing now with the great generational transfer is there's an opportunity for a new mindset of new money to come in and rewrite that entire story. Mm-hmm. The problem is the NIMBY mindset of fear, of lack of fear of change, wanting things to stay the same. I've been here. I like it. Being detached from what the future generations and current generations are going through, and then the changes that actually need to be made to make their future better. And so the ones that are holding on and not allowing these buildings to get turned over and get released and get that money back into a better purpose are actually the ones holding the city back.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree. There's some bigger conspiracy / global conversations here too. I mean, it's tough, right? Mm-hmm.
Well, death isn't always bad. There's an example right on South Commercial. You have the new apartment building that was built, and then the old record store and smoke vape shop that was there forever, and then the owner died. Property changed hands, and now it is no longer a blight in that little section of town. And you've remodeled all the properties across the street, and so you have a pocket that used to be old, grungy, ugly, now have new pizza shop, new salon. And that's what the city needs if it's ever going to turn over, is for ownership to change.
One of the biggest drags that we have is expectations around value. And what I hate is the question when people come in, just what's my property worth? And I always say, when? And they're like, I don't understand what you're saying. I was like, in 6 months, 12 months, or 24 months. And they're like, now. I said, oh, cash offer closed today? They just don't. Well, what's it worth, right? And it is worth time. People misplace the value of time entirely. But, I mean, you can go down the conspiracy on the Fed, right? The Rothschilds, if you want to go down that path, right? You can go down where money is going, being cheaper, right? In the Paul Curley plan, right? Cheaper money, right? It's all going to land in the assets in the end. You can go down the path of we're all going to be on universal income, and it's all going to be global anyway, so who cares about the U.S. dollar anymore? Like, there's that path, right? But in my opinion, in Salem, when you had valuations spinning up with, debt, commercial debt at 3.25%, 3%, right? 3.75%, it created a value, and we're 15% still today below that peak value across all asset types. And then you've got the Portland pressure, and I love it when people say, how much is my property worth? I was having the conversation with the guy I met with today, right? What's your idea for this? What's it worth? And I said, well, today you got 3 million square feet of other stuff that looks just like it, right? To the local guy that's willing to go across the bridge, it's worth 40 cents. To the guy that you want in the next 18 months, I think you can get 60 cents. I see you're paying us $100 to show up to your open house, so you're trying to solve it today. I think you're doing the right work, but what your building is worth has a lot to do with the motivation and pain other people are feeling, not you. Mm-hmm. So when other people are in motivation and pain, and in this commercial world, when you got, let's call it 15 assets a week hitting the market, and it moves to 45 assets a week for 3 weeks, track this between here and Portland. Every week, we review new listings this week. That's how we keep a pulse on the market. If you look at everything, it's too big. But if you look at just the new ones and where it's landing, you're seeing that they're actually pricing instead of making it negotiable for Salem Industrial. That tells me the big players see the wave coming, right? You're seeing, last week alone, I think there was 55 offices listed for sale between Salem and Camas. There's only 4 in Washington, right? 51. And as I was going through all asset types, I think it was 2 multifamily, maybe 1 mixed use or like retail strip mixed use. It was like 55 offices. And so the guy I said, your office is worth X. Well, it just went down. Sorry. It's like, it's your value is based on time. And so when I give my valuations, I always give a 6, 12, and 24-month pricing. And I said 24 month is what you want to hear. 12 is where I offend everyone. And 6 is where I just offend you. And if you're desperate enough, you'll take the 6-month pricing, right? And
that's hilarious. 12 offends everyone.
Yeah.
The buyer, the seller.
The buyer and the seller. Everyone's offended. And, but anyways, that's
a great answer. This is a really good answer.
Yeah.
Should we wrap this one up? Do you have more questions?
I do, but we can talk about them next.
That was a quick hour. That was a really quick hour.
All right. You got anything else, AJ, before we wrap? I need to take a little nap before we do a deal episode. AJ starts talking and my brain just goes like, oh my gosh, there's too much to think about.
I could do this for hours. Let's just keep going.
I have one question.
Yeah.
You said you feel like one of your passions is to save Salem. How optimistic are you about that mission? Do you think Salem can be better? Can it be saved?
Okay, let me ask you this. What do you think is the most important variable in saving Salem?
I think probably reputation. Just the optics of, I'm one of those who I want to go see it with my own eyes. I did this with Portland a year or so ago. Drove around, walked around, spent 4 hours in Portland. I came back to Salem and I'm like, I can't believe it, but Portland's actually turned the corner and it's better than Salem. But then I've noticed over the last 6 months that Salem has started to get better. But then there's a lot of people out there that, my 82-year-old mother is like, I will never go back to downtown Salem because I'm scared. I think somebody's going to attack me, And so I think it's got a black eye, just like Portland did. And I think it takes time to recover from that. But I think it's a reputation thing.
So in my opinion, I'm very optimistic, but I have to be because I'm vested. So I believe that the Forge is the grass fire that was just lit. That's the match that's going to transform. I believe that the biggest issue, Salem is a geographical place, right? A church is a geographical place. So saving, you can call reputation, you can say this, that, and the other. All it is what type of people do you attract? Mm-hmm. And do they attract more people that are going to be fun, worth hanging out with?
It's hard to do when downtown's full of politicians and attorneys.
Yeah, potentially. But I would argue it's hard to do if you focus on drowning out the negative because you'll never do it. So all you can do is shine a light and grow the positive. And so my hope in Clink, and I'm very proud of my wife and what she's doing and just pushing that vision, is how do we, that women's collective, 24 businesses on that floor that are got synergy, that are excited, that are high-fiving in the hallways. I haven't seen that in downtown. So to me, that was step 1, the women's collective. And then step 2, when we throw dumpling, right, a true high-level dumpling spot in Salem, it will get people downtown. The price point's great. The food is fast, and you cannot get that, right? Din Tai Fung, right? Or go to Eugene. You can't get that here. And so when we throw that plus poke, right, and bonsai, which is its own specialness, right, that they've created, it is starting to attract people. And guess what? We're hiring and bringing people from Portland in. Bonsai hired someone from California coming down. Mm-hmm. So when the people are now attracted because your concepts and your human and interaction and your spaces are cool enough, then it grows that beehive of light, of people.
It's exactly what Portland did. Started doing a bunch of adaptive reuse. A lot of it was modeled off after California for their types of projects. And the atmosphere changed, the culture changed, the people changed. And you build it, they will come mentality. And that's one reason why I fell in love with your project, is the first time I walked in there was, Salem doesn't have anything like this. You can't walk in a building in Salem and get this feeling. It just doesn't happen. And that's actually when I started reaching out to you and I started having a different vision. It was like, Salem is a place worth being invested in now, and I don't think I ever thought that.
Yeah, no, and there's money to be made here, right? I believe in this rebound being far faster than the Portland rebound. What's great is it doesn't take as big of an impact to really change things. Like that one building in Portland would drown out, right? It would be the thing for 10 minutes. Here, it's probably the thing for a year. And it now has, I mean, I've got 4 LOIs in motion that would fill JCPenney now, just since January, and we're not even open yet. And so when that building finally opens, when the sun comes out for the first time with that building open, I have a lot of belief. And when we start the Bourbon and Wine Lair and we get the underground mentor group that is helping fund these entrepreneurs, what's funny is the allure, the secrecy, the mystery, that's part of the fun. But, my locker, my pappy, my, shared glassware, and I can bring the next entrepreneur that knows he's got an idea to change Salem, and I can sit him down and they can give me the business plan, and we can choose to invest and put them in our buildings and take chances. And the fun part is you just find the right hermit crab shell and an operator. You compare those two. And if one operator doesn't make it, but your hermit crab shell, right, was the right shell for that use, you now will win. And the tough part when landlords say, hey, tenant, come in here, we're not paying for anything, do what you want, is the hermit crab shell that's built is often subpar. So developers need to take a lot more care.
And risk.
In programming and risk, right? Mm-hmm. But in programming the right hermit crab shell for the future and not just trusting someone who's never done real estate before because it's their money and they don't want to invest. Because what they're left with is now things that they thought was value. Well, I did this because they built these offices. Let's use these offices. And that's what it took to fit. It took Chris 18 months, but finally I just said, scrape the second floor, right? It's $2.3 million speculative, medical grade spec project. Just build 24 suites, Chris. I promise it'll be fine.
He has a lot of trust in you.
Oh, probably too much, but I've got a good track record, but there's a lot of guessing. So anyways.
All right, we're going to wrap this episode. AJ, it's been amazing having you on the show. Thank you for joining us. We'll come back and we'll talk deals. Deal Junkies, we love you. Please share us with someone you love. We'll see you next time.